Hello YouTube, and welcome back to Simple Design Fundamentals, Episode 2. This is a series where we intend to look at the design mechanics behind games like Dark and Darker, and the intent here is to weigh the pros and cons of those different design decisions to help developers make more informed decisions about what is best for the game. We try to make our arguments here based in logic and keep the overall health of the game as the driving factor. Additionally, we hope to inform the general audience about the positives and negatives of each topic that we discuss to help unify the community's voice to help enact the change that we would like to see in the game. Lastly, we hope that this is a place of discussion. We are not so naive as to think that our opinions are gospel fact, but more as a launching platform for bigger discussion. With the intro out of the way, let's jump into today's topic. This is a hotly debated issue within the community, and of course, we're talking about matchmaking and the maps in general. How should they be handled? What can be done to fix the existing issues? For the sake of argument and sanity, I'm going to ignore the terrible version of the game that we're currently on, the current patch, and focus on the previous version. We had 3 main maps. We had Goblin, Ice Cave, and Ruins. Goblin had 1 layer, Ice had 2, and Ruins had 3. Across all of those maps, we had several queues. We had PvE, which was trios only. We had normals, which was trios only, and we had HR, which was solos, duos, and trios. And outside of all of that, you had the invisible servers that you were attached to, whether it be North America West, East, EU, Australia, Oceania, whatever. There was a bunch of them. All of this adds up to a lot of different queues. We've had tons of different iterations on the matchmaking system because the developers have been trying to find the sweet spot between lobby density and fair competitive matches. To me personally, this was at its height just after launch. Many people regard this as the best lobbies and the best time that they had with the game. There are many key differences between then and now, one example being the lobbies were based on gear score. Gear score being different brackets between 0 and 24, aka Squire lobbies, 25 to 124, and 125 plus, with HR having a minimum gear score requirement. I believe it was 125. There was only one map that you could join at any given time. At the end of the timer, the match would start and it would go to the next map. This is what most players understood at the very surface level. A lot of players did not realize that there was a secret, hidden matchmaking system at work. The game was actually pooling players based on gear score within those brackets. That meant that if you queued at or around 124 gear score, your opponents would likely be at or around that level. If you queued with a few greens in your inventory and you were around 65 gear score, if players were in the pool of available players, you would be grouped against them. I confirmed this myself by bringing in 2 blue weapons into my inventory on occasion, just to put me against other min-maxers to see if I could kill them in Squire gear. The system was only like this very briefly. Many regarded it as the best system because the fights were fantastic. You often bumped into other people with similar gear and skill level. Was it perfect? No. Waiting on a map rotation was super annoying for the ADD gamers of the world, and if you had a buddy who took forever to gear up and then he's like, okay guys, we're ready, and you look at the timer and you miss your map by a few seconds, you had to sit there and twiddle your thumbs waiting for the map to fully rotate again. Moving forward, in typical stupid developer fashion, they moved away from this system for a new fancy system called Continuous Dungeon, where the match would continue to backfill players for the first few minutes of the round, and this solved the map rotation problem and the queuing problem, but added a plethora of new other ones, especially in the Squire lobbies. It was very possible, in fact, likely, that if you died early enough in a round, you could rejoin the lobby and then chase your gear set. So much so that people would have alts built out with a different gear set so they could go in and try to recover their gear if they lost it. In Squire lobbies, this happened all the time because you could just re-queue instantly. They've since made tweaks to the system, and that is a lot more rare, but we still have other problems. The biggest one today is the plethora of maps and all the plethora of queues that you might not be aware of. I suspect this is the reason some dumb fucker decided to delete the solo and duo queues and move us back towards the game's roots. So how do we fix it? Well, unsurprisingly, we've tried most of this stuff before, just not together. So going from top to bottom. First, we're going to make it so there's 2 maps you can join. You've got Ruins and you've got Ice Cave. The water map, when it comes out, will be looped in with the Ice Cave family, but basically you can choose between one of these 2 options. While you're in the Ruins, you can choose which map to descend to. Either you descend to the castle and eventually Inferno if you want to, or you can go to the Goblin Caves. If you queue Ice Caves, you can either go to the new water map or you can go to Ice Inferno. This will help cut the potential queues down a lot more without trashing existing content, which seems to be a narrative recently and nobody's happy about it. For the matchmaking side, we make a few changes. Number 1, the maps are going to be on an invisible timer, all of them at the same time. That means you can queue for whatever map you want. When you queue, you should be in the queue no longer than 1 to 2 minutes max, ideally more around 30 seconds, or instantly if it's available. During this period, the matchmaker is looking at existing play sessions and also queued players and the gear that they're wearing. Once a lobby is full or a pool of players is big enough, the match starts. The lobby is then backfilled for the first 2 minutes on the first tier of map. So the Ruins map would be a good example of a tier 1 map. On the lower maps, it's backfilled for 4 minutes. This is to compensate for the lower amount of players that are available in these lobbies because a lot of players don't like to go down, especially later in the season. Number 2, we go back to the gear score bracket that we all enjoyed, but with one minor tweak. Weapons now have the same cost as armor. You're not penalized for bringing weapons instead of armor, and vice versa. And number 3, we do not bring back Squire lobbies. This is something that's controversial. I know a lot of the community will ask for it, but instead, we try to group these players together in the matchmaker and the matchmaker pool that we have set up. One core aspect of loot extractors is risk versus reward. It's important for players to feel encouraged to bring in gear and take risk. They should feel like their gear has given them a better chance of survival because they took the risk of bringing it in. Players signing up for a game like this understand that this is a core principle of the game. I know most of you understand this. I'm just calling it out for some dumb fucker. So in conclusion, a basic system like this cuts down the total queues dramatically. We also get the benefits of the continuous dungeon and lower maps still feeling more populated. We encourage players to take more risk. We encourage them to use gear in hopes of a higher chance of survival, and we mitigate some of the gear gap issues by invisibly pooling these players together at the same time. That wraps it up for today. I know we are in dark times, everybody. I so badly want to say I told you so, but I'm not going to do that. I will see you on the other side. Take care.